What's Up Social Network. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter.
What up?
Fred and Scott getting ready for episode 67. Give you guys a minute to get in the room there. You got to want to pull up Facebook on here.
Yep.
And got a lot to talk about, man. It's an exciting week, so some good news. A lot of interesting stats I've found and pulled out that I'm excited to share this week. So
Yeah.
And of course we got our contest winner this week, so excited to announce that for sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I gotcha. There we go. All right.
All right, Scott, I'm ready to roll whenever you are, my friend.
Just making sure my volume is down on everything real quick. All right. I'm ready when you are, Fred.
All right, let's go. This week on Birdland BS, it's October 16th, and this is episode 67. We get into our contest winner. The Ravens lay the D on the Titans. The Saints come marching in. The Terps trample the Rutgers, and more. Stay tuned.
It's that time, so let's take it to the Birdland. That Baltimore home flavor is coming firsthand. Fred, Scott, and Ryan, tell them the word, man. Mixing a little BS to make it work, man. They got it on excitement, the topic. Make sure when they toss you the ball, you don't drop it. With all that swag, you're gonna listen regardless. Here comes the pitch, so it's time to get it started. It's Birdland BS.
What's up, Birdland BSers? Fred and Scott in the studio, episode 67. This is an exciting one, Scott. Got a lot of good news this week.
Heck yeah, man.
We're calling this one, it's a sack party. And if you guys were paying
Ain't
attention...
no party like a sack party.
If you're paying attention to the Ravens, you know what that's all about. It was a big week. So excited. A lot of good things going on with the Ravens. Got a lot of things that I want to cover, a lot of things that... pretty proud of this team, sitting at 4-2 after 6 weeks into this season, but we'll get into that, man.
Yeah, man.
It's pretty exciting. But this episode is brought to you by John Scheffenmacher of Cummings & Co. Realtors. Are you looking to buy or sell your home? Do you want someone you can trust to go to bat for you? Go see our guy, John Scheffenmacher, over at Cummings & Co. Realtors. John's been in the business for 4 years now and is dedicated to getting you the best deal possible. Always willing to take your call and be available for you anytime, day or night. For you Birdland fans out there, you may know him as the sunglass guy sitting behind the dugout at Camden Yards. So give John a call at 443-604-6298.
Yeah, Fred, as we've talked about many times, my wife and I used John 3 years ago when we bought our house. He's always willing to take your call, whenever, wherever. He's on vacation. We called him about the house that we wanted to see. He got us into that house, and that's the house we actually wound up buying.
That's awesome.
And not only is he a strong negotiator who's willing to get you the best deal, but he takes care of you after the purchase as well. He's got tons of client events. He's got one coming up for Pumpkin Patch coming up this weekend. It's going to be awesome. Go pick out some pumpkins. And then for Thanksgiving coming up, I know I'm going to see him hand deliver a pie to my front door. I love me some pecan pie.
Yes, sir.
I love me some pecan pie.
Delicious.
So make sure you don't hesitate to give John a call. Give him a call today at 443-604-6298 or email him at johnscheffa@gmail.com. That's JONSCHEFFA@gmail.com. And don't forget to let him know that Birdland BS sent you.
Speaking of exciting news, Scott, I know I'm excited. I know you're excited. We've been texting each other back and forth. We finally hit our goal, all thanks to you guys, all you guys out there that have been sharing and liking and commenting the posts. We set the goal this week at 750, and I think the last time I looked at it, we were real close to 850. So not only did we meet our goal, we exceeded our goal. So kudos to each and every one of you out there for sharing this post and making this happen. And we want to do a little give back, and we talked about it, a Birdland BS swag bag giveaway.
Yeah, man. I feel naked without my hat because my hat's got all the freaking names in it right now. I feel naked without this thing on, but it's time to draw.
So what we did is everybody that shared the post, everybody that liked the post, everybody that commented on the post on Facebook. Now keep in mind, for you YouTubers out there and for you Twitter followers out there, if you're not following us on Facebook, make sure you go follow us there as well. This contest it's good for all 3 platforms. So any platform that gets 750 or more, we're doing this swag bag giveaway. But we were able to hit it on Facebook. So all the people that did that for us on Facebook, we got a hat here. So Scott, ready to?
Yeah, let's just
out the hat. All right,
bunch of them in there. Let's go.
All right, let's see. I'm gonna dig deep. I'm gonna grab the first one on top. Let's see. All right, and the winner for the Birdland BS swag bag giveaway, Brady Kempa.
All right,
nice. Way to go, Brady. Brady has been a follower of ours really for a while now, really since we started the live streams. He's followed us on YouTube and then made his way over to Facebook. So pretty exciting to see him, win this contest. And Brady, if you're watching, be sure to send us a message on Facebook or YouTube so that way we can get your information and we can send you out the gift bag.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be nice. It's fun. And here's the deal: we're not stopping. We're gonna do another contest this week if we can get it. We're gonna up it a little bit. We hit 7. We hit you said what 850 close is what we're close to now.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm gonna up it a little bit. I'm not gonna make it untouchable. We're gonna go 800. We said 750 last time. Let's go 800 this time. So we're going to do the same thing, 800 for this episode 67. Share it, get it out there, and that's any platform. So anybody that's out there, make sure that you are sharing, make sure that you like, comment, join us in, and we're going to get you out a swag bag if we can get this up to 800. And I think what Fred and I decided is we're just going to make this a monthly thing now.
Yeah.
Like from here on out until we decide otherwise. Yeah. We're going to give away a swag bag at least once a month. So be paying attention, be watching the channel, be watching the feeds because we're
share.
Yeah, we are going to we'll make an announcement on that show that's what's going on. But we're gonna go from there. I know that those of you who are on YouTube, a few people have chimed in and said the audio is a little distorted. It should have cleaned up by now. I know Twitter was kind of the same way, but it should have cleaned up by now. It's just the how it takes to come on.
All right, Scott, let's get into this thing, man. Ravens lay the D on the Titans. Huge defensive effort in the first shutout of the 2018 season. There's been a lot of talk of, the Ravens defense. Is it the best in the NFL and that kind of thing? I don't know if they're the best defense in the NFL, but statistically, there's no arguing it. There's no arguing that this team is the best defensive team in football right now statistically.
I mean, 11 sacks, 1 game, franchise record.
Yeah, 1 short of the NFL record. Huge games across the board for quite a few people. Obviously, I think the big name here that kind of stood out for me, Zadarius Smith. Zadarius Smith, he had 3 sacks. He batted Mariota's arm for a forced fumble. I mean, this guy was in the backfield all day long.
Yeah, man, he was unstoppable when it came to the defense. Especially getting in, not just getting pressure on Mariota, but to get the arm out and to put hands on him during throw. It's just awesome, especially when you're trying to force that fumble, and he gets and forces a fumble.
Right.
And that's just, this defense was nonstop. Heads were turning at Wink Martindale when it came that time when he hit the record.
Yeah.
Because he had everything dialed up perfectly, and he needs to continue to do that.
Yeah.
You got a tough guy to go against next week, and we're going to talk about that here shortly. But hey, I want to see this kept up, man.
Yeah. I mean, to your credit, I think the big thing that you said last week that the Ravens
I'm dumping
needed to
these names, by the way, so I can put my hat back on. I feel naked.
To your credit, like I said, big thing that you said last week, I think that they needed to do was that they needed to contain Mariota. And how do you do that? You keep him inside the pocket. You don't let him get outside the pocket, and you keep pressure on him, and you make him uncomfortable. This is a guy that was having some feeling issues in his hand. He's got a pinched nerve in his elbow, so you already kind of knew that the bull was weak. And if you could shut down his biggest threat, and that's his mobility and being able to extend plays and get out of the pocket, then you got a good chance at beating this team. From start to finish, this defense dominated the game. And they came out on the first drive of the game with a big stop. And then Flacco, let's talk a little bit about the offense. I mean, we'll sit here all night and talk about the defense. So let's talk a little bit about the offense. Flacco came out, and I think he was on a mission to get Crabtree involved and get him involved early, just to kind of get over the whole mental hurdle of the drops and kind of get him feeling good about himself early, which is what you need. As a football player, when you're struggling and that kind of thing, you need something that's going to make you feel a little bit more comfortable. Get a couple of easy passes, get a couple of easy catches, get him feeling good about himself. And he did that. I mean, Crabtree had 3 receptions for 52 yards, including the touchdown on the very first drive of the game. Good to see Crabtree back involved in the offense.
Yeah, it was awesome to see after if you didn't go check it out on the Ravens website on the Ravens app, the video of John Harbaugh giving out the game ball afterwards, and him when he throws it to Crabtree catches it and he's like, "Yeah, I caught it. I didn't embarrass myself in front of the team." And the team just goes. Willie Snead's sitting next to him. I thought Willie Snead was going to be in tears. He was looking like he was laughing so hard.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. Crabtree, though, man, he is a damn ballerina with the toe taps. Like, this guy, it's an art form. And as a wide receiver, it's something that, it can easily get missed and something that could easily be taken for granted. But that's the one thing that I've really noticed about Crabtree is his body control and being able to keep his feet in bounds is like no receiver I've ever seen. I mean, his control is unreal. If this guy can just get back to catching the football, he could be a really big piece, because it looks like what defenses are starting to do is defenses are starting to kind of hone in on John Brown and trying to eliminate that deep threat. And the only way you get that back is if the other guys around him step up. And you need Crabtree to be involved in the offense. You need Willie Snead to continue doing what he's doing. He's been huge in this offense with a lot of big third down conversions and just like we've talked about for the past couple weeks, some tough yardage gains. And then we got to get back to, I think, getting the tight ends involved a little bit more. And then John Brown will just kind of come back.
Yeah, he'll filter back in, and it's good because it puts a little bit more pressure on guys like Crabtree to step up, and now having multiple weapons. Crabtree coming back, being successful. Having Willie Snead, who is unsung hero in my opinion for the Ravens right now, one of the most consistent guys. Seen a lot of people picking him up in PPR leagues in fantasy football,
right?
But he's the most consistent guy right now as far as catches, especially considering that these tight ends and this tight end core is not as involved as most people had previously anticipated, including ourselves. We previously anticipated they were going to have a heavy workload, but really, it's the wide receiving core that's having the heavy workload, and it was really hurting us when Crabtree wasn't doing well and when Crabtree was having the drops. And now that he's not, now it becomes a greater and greater threat. You just need to continue it. You've got to see the motion moving forward, not just with the Saints, but moving forward, period.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's something that's always kind of been Flacco's security blanket. Has been the tight end position, no matter who it's been. I mean, obviously, Dennis Pitta was a part of his career for a very long time, and that was something that Flacco was always comfortable with, throwing down the middle to his tight end. That's not a part of the offense that I think that they're going to abandon. I mean, if anybody's been watching Flacco for his career, they know that this guy relies on the tight end heavily. They'll get back to using him. It's just, honestly, I really think it just goes to the Flacco's never had this kind of weapons around him, and I think he's enjoying himself a little bit. I think he's having fun with the fact that he can throw the ball 60 yards down the field and hit John Brown in stride, and that Michael Crabtree this week's coming up with toe taps like a ballerina, and that he's actually getting his hands around the ball, and that Willie Snead's picking up big third downs for him, beyond the chains, not coming up 2 or 3 yards short, like we've seen in years past with this team on third down, is throwing the ball too short.
Yeah,
and then not getting the conversion. So
I'd agree with you. Flacco is having fun 98% of the time.
Yeah.
And the other 2%, he's getting annoyed with Lamar. Now, Lamar did have a big 22-yard run, almost gets a TD.
Yeah.
But you and I were talking about this, and I'd be curious to hear what our fans have to say. Is it worth it? Is the Lamar 22-yard run, almost getting a TD, is that worth this breaking of the momentum for Joe and the Ravens? Because there has been a little bit of a history, and I didn't pull the numbers, and I forgot to pull it because I wanted to look at it, about how many times they actually score after they've introduced the Lamar package in the red zone.
Right.
Because that number, I want to say, is fairly, it's getting kind of fairly not what you want. You don't want to have that happen. Look, great to see Lamar get out there. Great to see him. But I also didn't, same thing we've been talking about, the dive forward. Dude, you're putting yourself at great risk here. I understand it. I understand why.
That's been my biggest gripe since day one with this whole Lamar package, is that the risk reward worth the injury, the possibility of an injury to a quarterback that you took in the first round and is probably going to be the future of your team. I don't think it's worth it. As exciting as it is to see Lamar get out there and play, and you just got to think of it from a business perspective, and a long-term perspective. I don't think it's worth it. It's something that obviously doesn't sit well, like we've talked about with Flacco. It does, whether you want to admit it or not, it does break rhythm. You know what I mean? If you're in a no huddle, or if you're just kind of in a pace where you feel comfortable, and then all of a sudden you got to come out and sit out for a play or what, it breaks things up.
It does. It kills the momentum. And, and Mark on YouTube says, he says breaking the momentum in those Lamar plays is something that he worries about as well. And Sam chimes in. He says it's not worth it. He agrees too.
And Sam's a huge Louisville and Lamar fan. So if it's coming from him, that says something. It's really not. You're mortgaging your future for these, Now, granted, a 22-yard gain, that's great. That was huge. I can't believe the Titans weren't more prepared for that play. It wasn't like they ran anything different than they run normally with Lamar. You would have thought that they'd be a little bit more prepared for that. But nonetheless, it was an exciting play. You could see he was obviously kind of frustrated that he was, a little short and didn't get in the end zone. He even said that kind of after the game. But nonetheless, great game for the Ravens. Ravens get to 4-2. Look, this team, 4 of the first 6 games have been on the road, including 3 in a row. If you told me this team was going to be 4-2 at this point in the year, I'll take that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd take that all day and twice on Sunday.
Exactly.
It's been great, and we talked about it with the defense with Zadarius Smith, but the overall pressure of the defense. We talked about the 11 sacks. We talked about that, but here's the underrated stat, and you were the one that shared this stat with me.
Yeah.
The Titans, we held the Titans to 69 total yards in the first half, 37 in the second. That's 106 yards total.
Unreal. In this day and age in football, in any age of football, that's an unreal statistic. But in this day and age, 106 total yards, unbelievable. Unbelievable. This team, the defense, has only surrendered 12 points in the second half of football games this season. We've played 6 games. 6 games. They still have yet to give up a second half touchdown.
Yeah.
All season. The numbers defensively are insane. But before we get too much into defense, there's some things that I want to go over with the offense. One thing that I was really, really happy to see was that the team did show some balance. They had 35 rushes to 37 passes. Again, it doesn't need to be a clean 50-50 split in order for it to be balanced. It worked out that it was pretty close to 50-50. Collins didn't have the best of games. He had 19 carries for 54 yards, but he did have the one big 13-yard touchdown. I think what really impressed me was the undrafted kid, Gus Edwards. He didn't play a whole lot of snaps.
No.
But in the snaps that he played, he averaged a little over 4 yards per carry. He hits the hole hard. He doesn't really overlook or try to bounce outside too much. He gets the ball and he runs.
No,
and I like that.
We talked about it. One of the issues that we have had with Collins is the east-west thing versus north-south. Edwards was running north-south.
Yeah.
If he did a slight bounce, he was still moving forward as he was bouncing. So it works, and that's what you need. You need that strength. I'd like to see a little more out of him. I'd like to see, I think it's going to be, a tandem role with him and Collins because Collins can break off a few every once in a while.
Collins has big play potential. We haven't seen it much this year, but he still has the big play potential. And if at any given time, he can break off that 40, 50, 60-yard run, and that's where he's going to get his yak. He's going to get the yards after catch or after carry, and that's where you're going to start to see those numbers go up.
Right.
But that's why you can't abandon the running game altogether. You got to give him carries.
You have to.
Because of the ability to make the big play, you have to give him. And you also got to keep defensives respecting the run. You can't just have them sitting back. It does not bode well for Flacco. You can't have them sit back. Man, speaking of being in coverage, we talk about Mosley and his kind of inability to cover. The Titans linebackers were awful in coverage. I mean, awful.
Yeah, they were horrible. They looked worse than C.J. Mosley. That's for sure. I agree with that. It was ridiculous. I was happy about it.
Yeah, of course. But it was just glaring.
From an understanding football perspective, it was like you said. It's glaring to sit there and watch that game and go, "This is their number one linebacker."
It makes you appreciate what we have a little bit more.
Exactly.
But Flacco, though, look, Flacco didn't have a great game. He had a good game. And, look, I'm a Flacco fan. I've always been a Flacco fan. I'm not a Flacco apologist. I'll tell you when he sucks, and I'll tell you when he has a bad game. But, look, Flacco is a good quarterback. And you know what? I found some interesting stats online this week, and I wanted to share that were just kind of eye-opening about Flacco. So for you guys out there that have been on the fence about Flacco, and for you guys that have kind of just pushed Flacco under the bus over the years, not really giving this guy a chance, let me run down a few stats here for you. And I'm going to give credit to NFLchatter.com for a few of these because that's where I was able to find these. So do you realize Flacco only needs 15 more passing touchdowns to reach number 33 all-time? 33 all-time.
It's pretty damn good.
Yeah, he's still got a few years left in him as well. He also holds the postseason record for most consecutive games with 2 touchdown passes. Pretty impressive. He's 25th all-time in passing yards. Pretty crazy. He's 19th all-time in completions. All-time.
Yeah.
He's got the most playoff road game postseason wins in NFL history with 7. These stats are just... To me, it was eye-opening, and this is coming from somebody that, I've been in Flacco's corner. I've been in his side, but I look at these stats, and I'm like, holy cow. And then,
you don't anticipate it because he's silently doing all this.
Right. And then the one thing that stood out to me the most, the one big stat that stood out to me, and I credit to Kyle Andrews, 1057, for giving this one to me. With his 25 completions this week, Flacco tied Peyton Manning for the 3rd longest streak in NFL history with 25 completions or more in a game with 9 in a row. He sits only 2 behind this week's opponent, Drew Brees, for the record. Credit to Kyle Andrews for that one. It's pretty unreal.
Yeah, no, that is unreal, and that's crazy that I don't want to say that exists, but the fact that, he's got that consistency to it, so to speak, that's one thing that just makes you kind of look at it and go, well, wow, that's the type of quarterback that we have and not one that we would normally anticipate, in that situation.
Yeah, it's just, look, I'm right there with most fans and the frustrations, that we all have with Flacco's ability sometimes and sometimes his decision-making and that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, he's a pretty darn good quarterback. Is he elite? No. Is he ever going to be one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history? No. Is he a top 5 quarterback in the NFL? No. But appreciate what we got. And you know what? The Ravens are finally putting some weapons around him, and we're finally seeing some consistency. I think a lot of that comes from the weapons around him. It also comes from the consistency at the offensive coordinator position, which he's never had. You know, the relationship with him and Marty is, I don't even know how that conversation happens. You imagine those two in a room talking together, like just, it's hard to even like think of that. But yeah, just duh. But nonetheless, it's working, and we're seeing progression. I'm excited for where this team could go. You know, again, if you'd asked me after 6 weeks prior to this season, if we were sitting at 4-2, knowing that we had as many road games as we had to start this season, I'm pretty darn happy with where we're at.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'd be super happy with where we're at with everything. You know, the way that he's been playing, it's been a little inconsistently consistent. It's the best way to always describe Joe. He's inconsistently consistent.
Pretty much. I mean, that's a good way to say it.
You know, I know I'm throwing words around here because it's completely different if I say he's consistently inconsistent.
Right.
And that's it does describe Joe a little bit, but he's inconsistently consistent. He can hit every game. He can hit the 35, 36 passes.
Right.
And hit about 70% or better completion rate on that.
60. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Talking about consistency in this game, I think the big thing that was consistent for this team was their third down conversions. They were 12 of 17 on third down, which is huge. They got back to the roots of where they were in the beginning of the season, playing well in the red zone. They were 3 for 3 in the red zone this week. So we saw a lot of positive, really on both sides of the football. This was a team win. I mean, all around. Special teams, you know, even with, speaking of special teams, Cyrus Jones, you know, we were talking Matt made some comments last week about, you know, his fumble
yeah, right.
His fumble consistency.
He was talking about that.
Yeah, and then he come out and actually had a pretty darn good game. You know, it's just one game, so I'm not going to toot his horn too much. We need to see this consistently from him, but liked what we saw out of Cyrus and just liked what I've seen from this team altogether. But, man, defensively, it doesn't get any better than that from a pressure standpoint. Again, from a yardage standpoint, the 106 total yards is insane. They've given up only 36 total points in their last 4 games combined.
Wow.
That's not just their second half. That's 4 games total combined. The defense has given up 36 total points.
It's impressive. We've talked about it. I mean, they're dangerous. When you see a stat like that, and then you hear Weddle say this isn't the same Ravens, you know, you can't not start to believe him at this point. If you're not a believer that this isn't the same Ravens defense, that this isn't the same Ravens, I don't know what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Because the stats are all showing you otherwise.
Right.
You know, look, are there some times where the Ravens are struggles and have some struggles that we get frustrated with, like the Crabtree drops? Yeah. But at the same time, as long as they're going through and winning the games, staying on top, staying consistent, and doing things that what we've talked about is the consistency of Wink Martindale to make in-game adjustments.
Yeah, that's been huge.
It's been huge for this defense. So as long as they continue to do that, you're gonna continue to see the progression and have them be able to proceed in a manner that's going to be. I'm using large words. Proceed in a manner that's going to be conducive to this defense taking it the distance.
Yeah.
Now they just need to rely on the offense taking it the distance. One of the big things out of the offense that we didn't mention was the Alex Lewis play.
Yeah, it was scary.
Very scary because it looked a lot, and the commentators on the game, it looked a lot like the Shazier situation. Now, Shazier's head was down. Alex was up. That was a good thing. But the reaction of him.
Looked like he got shot with a tranquilizer
it did.
dart. Like, I mean, he just stood there for a second, was like, what the hell was happening? And just fell. Like, straight. It was scary. I mean, anytime you see all the coaching staffs and all the trainers and everything out on the field and they're taking the face mask off of a player, they're not even removing the helmet. They're just taking off the face mask of the player, and they're doing everything that they can to stabilize his neck and to stabilize his head. I mean, of course, you go right to the worst. You think the worst. I did see him as he's getting carted off the field kind of lift his hand up. So right away, I kind of saw that he had a little bit of a movement in his extremities, which is good. But, turns out that the injury wasn't as serious as everybody thought, that, the CAT scans and everything turned out clean, that there's even a chance, Harbaugh said, that he may even play this week. I know you and I kind of discussed this last night. I think that would be a dumb move.
No, don't do it, John. Don't do it.
I think that would be a dumb move.
It's the dumbest move you can make. I'm sorry. Alex Lewis, he's been very strong, very, very pivotal in this offensive line. But my issue with having him go through and play this game becomes very dangerous for his health. He's a player. We don't know what happened. You don't know what happened. They haven't said it. I think they kind of have an idea. Right. I think it may have been along the lines of a stinger type situation.
Right.
But at the same time, go back, and if you haven't watched it, I would encourage you guys, go watch the video of him going down, because you described it. It was like an elephant getting hit with a tranquilizer dart.
Yeah.
He almost even when you watch the video, he even shakes it off. Like, he tries to shake it off and goes, no, that didn't work. I'm going down. And goes down to one knee, then goes down on all fours, and says, nope, that ain't happening. I'm rolling onto my back.
Yeah.
And it was scary. I mean, the players know what's going on. And they actually, I thought it was pretty interesting of the commentators said you can always tell how serious it is. It truly is by the players on the team's reaction.
Oh, yeah.
He said the Ravens players, they went to the sideline, they gave him breathing room. He said if they think it's serious, those players are in there.
Right.
The doctors are having to push them back and fight them off because they're worried. They think something's bad on it.
Right.
So something told them, that it wasn't as bad. Yanda didn't seem to be. They kept showing Yanda. He didn't see. He was concerned.
Right.
But he didn't seem to be overly concerned. Like this could be a life-threatening or career-threatening injury or anything like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, they took him to the hospital, the local hospital there in Nashville. Everything checked out fine. That he came back with the team the same night. So good there. But, I mean, I guess if there's any positive, I know this is something that you and I have been talking about for a while, is that we wanted to see Orlando Brown Jr. kind of get a shot on the field.
Zeus Jr.
They didn't really take the opportunity like I thought. I mean, he came out in some of the jumbo packages where they needed, another tackle out on the field.
Didn't he come out as an eligible receiver at one point?
I
thought he claimed eligibility.
Yeah, they did. That's one big boy I don't want to see running down the football field with a ball. But
I don't know. Maybe what college was it that they put like a 300-pound lineman at fullback, handed him the ball and pounded it in the end zone.
Yeah, that was Temple.
Yeah.
But no, I mean it was good to see him get a little bit of taste. They brought in Bradley Bozeman, the center that was out of Alabama, and he played a little bit of guard while Alex went down. Didn't do terrible, but just happy that Alex Lewis came out of that unscathed, and whether he plays this week or not, just glad that it's not a serious or career-ending injury, like you said. Hopefully that's something that if he doesn't come back this week, he'll be back next week.
Yeah, hopefully. We've got a few comments I gotta point out just before they go into the abyss.
Yeah.
Matt Henke on Facebook says, "What is Fred drinking?"
I am drinking Tin Cup and Pepsi, my friend. Tin Cup. Here you go. For you big boys out there, this is
that's the big boy version of Tin Cup. Just so you know,
that's the real big bottle of Tin Cup there. So yeah, Tin Cup and Pepsi for me, my friend.
Yeah. Mark on YouTube also commented. He said in reference to the 36 total points, he says 77 through 6, only team under 100 through 6 games. He said he thinks the Bears have played 5 games and still have more points than our defense.
They've played one less game than us. Yeah, it's insane. Like I said, just overall what this defense is doing right now is insane. This team coming up. So we'll talk a little bit about this week's game with the Saints coming to town. This scares me. Some of these, like we're going to start getting into.
Let's be specific. There's 2 people that scare us.
Yeah.
It's not that the Saints scare us.
There's a handful of people that scare us or scare me with this team. But yeah, I mean 2 in particular that You got to stop. If you don't stop, you have no chance.
There's one place you got to start. You got to stop Kamara.
Yeah, got to stop Kamara. You cannot let that guy single-handedly beat you, and he will beat you in multiple ways. He'll beat you running the ball. He'll beat you catching the ball out of the backfield. He's a big play running back. And, so far the Ravens have done pretty darn well against, some big playmakers. But here starts to roll in some of the higher-powered offenses, with these next couple of games that we have. Obviously, Drew Brees setting the NFL mark last week for career passing yards, passing Peyton Manning in a kind of pretty cool moment. You can't hate Drew Brees in any kind of way.
As my wife calls him, Juju Bees. I told her she can't call him that now because there's Juju Smith-Schuster, so you can't. I
mean, that's just the guy that you root for, even if you're not a Saints fan. That's just the guy you always pull for. At least for me, he seems like a good dude, a family dude, and he's been great for that organization. For those that haven't been watching the NFL for very long, or that are kind of new to football, or haven't watched much history, the Saints were a terrible organization for a very, very long time. Drew Brees and Sean Payton have really changed New Orleans' fortunes since they've arrived there in New Orleans. So single-handedly, those two guys have done huge things for that organization. And they come in here as one of the top offenses in the league. But then outside of that, they've got a really, really good run defense as well. So this is going to be a test, a real good test for the Ravens.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. Like you said, we got to stop. You have to account for Kamara. You've got to keep pressure on Drew Brees, because if you don't keep pressure on Drew Brees, he's gonna run all, or throw it all over you and wind up killing you. And then it opens up for Kamara. The other big thing that we talked about from the Ravens side, from the offensive side of the ball, is Flacco has to continue to play well. Yeah. The Saints have been good against the rush all season. You were talking about this, some things that you've seen in some of the Saints games you've been watching.
Yeah,
that it's going to be dangerous. And this, with our offensive line being a little shaky, not knowing what's going on with Alex Lewis, what are you going to have to do? Are you going to put Brown out there? Are you going to make some shit? What are you going to do? This is going to be a tough game.
It's a game where, yes, the Saints are very good against the run, but again, you can't abandon the run just because they're good at the run. But this is good against the run. But this is a game where Flacco is going to have to carry the team. Flacco's going to have to carry the team, and he does typically play his better football at home. So we do have that working in our advantage that we are home. But again, they've got weapons all over the field. Michael Thomas, in my opinion, Ohio State alum, he might be one of the top 3 wide receivers in the NFL, in my opinion, right now. There are some guys out there that might be better if they were in better situations. Odell Beckham, and if he could just shut his mouth, but he'd be a better wide receiver if he had somebody else throwing him the football. Julio Jones, I think, is a guy that they just do not utilize correctly in Atlanta. We've talked about that before. I think that
he's underutilized.
He's underutilized in that scheme. I mean, that he is one of the freakish talents at wide receiver in the NFL. But Michael Thomas is one of the best possession wide receivers in the league. He's got some of the best hands. Again, another guy that uses his body very well to position himself and get to the ball. But look, Drew Brees, he's one of those rare air kind of quarterbacks that can make a grocery bagger come in and look good at wide receiver. He can throw to anybody. And like you said, I mean, with Kamara, they've got weapons all over that field. This is going to be the test of all tests for this defense for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be the secondary has to hold up. Jimmy Smith has got to be able to cover. You and I were talking about who do you have, coverage wise.
Right.
Humphrey's got to have the game of his life.
Yeah, Humphreys is going to have to play good. Weddle, as much as I love Weddle, again, his personality, what he brings leadership-wise, he has made some pretty questionable decisions this year. Last week, I mean, we were this close. He was this close to having a huge touchdown go against him for biting on a play. He tried to jump a route that he misread.
Yep.
And then the wide receiver, fortunately, was overthrown because, I mean, that would have been a
very fortunately
70-yard touchdown that could have changed the whole entire outlook of that game. Football's funny like that as far as, like, the ebb and flow of a game and you know, momentum and all that kind of stuff. That one play, I mean, they were this close on it. They were this close. If that happens, again, it's only a 21-0 game is how that finished. That one play puts quick 7 points on the board, changes the whole mentality of the Ravens team. So Weddle's got to play smart. He's got to get back to, you know, making smart decisions and not taking so many risks, especially against Breeze, because Breeze will burn you.
He will burn you, and he'll burn you quick and fast. That's for sure.
Absolutely. If he finds that you're jumping routes, and because he's a smart guy, I mean, he sees these things, he knows how to read these things, he will burn you.
Drew Brees is one of the. He's probably got some of the best football smarts in all of football right now.
Absolutely. I mean,
top guy as far as that's concerned.
Yeah. So. Again, this is going to be a huge test. We'll kind of get into our predictions here in a second. But look, defensively, let's repeat what we did. I'm not asking for 11 sacks again. That's unrealistic. That's probably not going to happen again. But it's very similar in what you had to do with Mariota. Like you mentioned, keep him inside the pocket. Don't let him get outside of the pocket. And you got to get to him quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny, like when you look at statistics, one thing that's kind of frustrated me with Flacco this year has been his tipped passes at the line. Like he must lead the NFL in tipped passes at the line of scrimmage. It's unreal how many times it happens to Flacco. And this is a guy at 6'6". On the other end of that, Drew Brees, he's like a 6-foot quarterback, so he's just 6 inches shorter. He's got the least amount of tip passes at the line of scrimmage. So he's got the ability to shift around in the pocket and step up, step back, step left, step right, where he's smart enough to be able to get around the big lineman and throw with a consistent throwing lane.
Yeah.
So it's again, you got to get to him. You got to disrupt him. You got to get in his head. And you only do that by doing that early.
Early and often. So hopefully they can keep that consistency, and we'll see what happens. Hopefully Wink gets it dialed up. But, you know, Mark on YouTube does bring up, look, this is in our house, this time. And you offered to have me come to the game with you, and I'll be joining you for the game. So it'll definitely be interesting to get that first-hand view of what's happening. I think we jump straight into our predictions here. I'm going to give you mine first. It's 4:25 kickoff, which we don't get very many 4:25 kickoffs, by the way.
It's a 4:05 kickoff. 4:25. Let's talk a little bit about last week. First, before we get into this week, let's talk last week. Last week.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I got to talk last week, right? So
that's where I was looking at 4:25.
You're just trying to skip over this because I had a clean sweep.
You know what?
Last week. I had my first clean sweep of the week. I took the Ravens. I had them winning 23-20. Obviously, my score wasn't there. I mean, yes, I was pretty close on what the Ravens were going to do. Nowhere near on what the Titans did. But I got the win with the Ravens. You also took the Ravens, as did Ryan. So we all clean sweep there. Thursday night football game, which Sam just mentioned on YouTube. We did something a little bit different this week for Thursday night football. We actually did a live stream of the game on YouTube just for the fun of it, just to see how it would go. Gave our shot at commentary.
Just us giving commentary. We weren't actually shooting the video of the game, but it was just us sitting there in front of you and just commentating the game, letting you know what was going on.
We had like almost 700 views throughout the night on that feed, and we got a lot of good feedback on it. I had a lot of fun with it.
I had a lot of fun.
It was different, 3+ hours of coverage. It's a little different than doing an hour show. But we had a lot of fun.
And then I had to put my kid to sleep in the middle of it, and that left you sitting there for 10 minutes by yourself.
That's all right. We made do. We made do. But yeah, the Thursday night game had the Eagles at the Giants. Both you and I took the Eagles, which we were victors in. Ryan, I don't know what the hell you were thinking taking the Giants there. That was a long shot, my friend, but nonetheless, you came up short on that one. The Sunday night game was probably the most entertaining game. I mean, it was just Well, I can't say that because even Monday night was entertaining as well.
Yeah, no.
Unexpectedly entertaining.
Exactly.
But the Sunday night game lived up to everything that it sold itself as. You and Ryan actually picked the Chiefs to win that game. I had the Patriots. I was the lone soul on the Patriots.
You were.
Patriots pulled it off, and I did say, as high scoring as this game is going to be, it's going to come down to a field goal difference, and it did. 43-40, the Patriots win on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah.
Monday night, I expected the Packers to just...
We expected a blowout.
Yeah,
all three. Well,
I expected them to just trample all over the 49ers, but man, 49ers came in, and I mean, right out of the gate, throwing deep.
CJ Beathard hitting guys deep left and right, and was lighting up the Packers defense, which screwed me on fantasy football, by the way.
But you can never count Aaron Rodgers out.
Nope.
As long as there's still a second on the clock, there is still a chance for Aaron Rodgers to pull a monkey out of his ass. I mean, that guy...
Less than a minute.
He's always...
Game winner.
Right. Always coming through in the clutch. Probably one of the most clutch quarterbacks in NFL history as the Packers come back and win that game 33-30. So I sit at 15-2 on the year, doing pretty well with my predictions. You sit at 14-4, and Ryan sits at 7-4 on the year. Ryan didn't come in until the third week of the season with his predictions. So let's get into this week's games. We're going to go right into the Ravens games. The Saints at Ravens. Saints come in at 4-1 with the Ravens at 4-2. Like you mentioned, it's a 4:05 kickoff. What do you got to say?
For me, Saints, I've got the Saints winning this. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. But I've got 45-38 Saints. Originally, when we were making predictions before the year started, I said the Ravens would win this game because it was at home. But I do see a few holes in the defense that I think you're going to see Drew Brees exploit. I want to be wrong. Yeah. I want to be wrong in this game. I 100%, no doubt, want to be wrong. There's just some things that I was seeing that I just wasn't sure. Ryan thinks it's going to be Ravens 43-33. I've got Saints 45-38. What do you got?
So we did our early season predictions prior to the year. And when I looked at the schedule, I went down and I just simply put WL, where I figured there'd be some wins and losses. And in the beginning of the year, I had this game as a loss. I had this as one of the rare home losses for the Ravens. And I honestly, as much as I want to pull for this team and as much as I'm going to be pulling for this team, and as you said, I hope I'm wrong, I see this going the other way. I do think it ends up being a pretty high-scoring game. I think Flacco has a good game, but I think Drew Brees does just enough in the end to win. I've got the Saints winning this one 38-33. Unfortunately, Birdland.
Yeah,
that's where I have my predictions. I hope I'm wrong. I will gladly take the L on this one.
So we've had a few predictions here. We have Brady who says Ravens 24, Saints 17. And he questions the 38 on the D that I gave. I'm sure he's probably going to question the 33 that you and Ryan both gave.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, or actually you have it at 38 as well. But at this point, I think it's one of those things that you can't get past that this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think everybody will be surprised if it's not a high-scoring game. Yeah. Yes, it is at home. Sherry chimes in, says 27-24 Ravens.
Okay.
So she's got it by a field goal kind of at the last minute. Mark says 27-21 Ravens. Right. Mark says the Ravens won't give up 45 points. That I'm nuts. Look, I may be nuts, but this is Drew Brees.
Yeah.
It's Drew Brees. Let's not forget that, people. We cannot forget that.
This is one of the most high-powered offenses in the NFL right now. I put them right underneath the Chiefs as far as like their ability to put up points.
We haven't always been the best against the run game either.
I know how much kudos we just gave the defense, and I know the defense has played great this year. But you got to remember, Cincinnati week 2 came out and punched us in the mouth 21 quick points, and that's Andy Dalton throwing to A.J. Green left and right. I'm not saying that, the defense hasn't improved since then. The defense absolutely has. I just think that Drew Brees is Drew Brees, and he's going to do Drew Brees things. And it's going to be a shootout. But
I'd be saying the same thing if it was Aaron Rodgers we were going against.
I hope all of you out there that are giving these predictions are right. I hope I'm wrong. I will gladly take the L on this.
Yeah.
But let's get into Thursday night's game. So Thursday night's game is probably the least exciting game of the primetime matchups. Yeah, the Broncos go into Arizona. Broncos at 2-4. Cardinals at 1-5. Cardinals relying on Josh Rosen at quarterback, their rookie. He's had some ups and downs already so far this season. I have the Broncos winning this one 27-20. What do you got?
I've got the Broncos winning as well, 24-17. I think it's gonna be. We're both have the same, have the same point differential here. Broncos coming in 2-4, Cardinals coming in 1-5. Ryan seems to think that it's going to be a 3-point win with the Cardinals pulling it out 27-24.
The only reason I even have this as a 7-point game is because the Cardinals are at home. I think the Broncos, if they're in Mile High, I think the Broncos run away with this pretty easily. But the only reason I have this as a 7-point game is because they're in Arizona. So we'll see what happens there. Sunday Night Football. AFC North. Bengals 4-2. AFC North leader right now. The Bengals at 4-2. On the road to take on the high-flying Chiefs coming off the upset victory. Not really upset victory, or loss,